If you look around today, um, it's just impossible to ignore the staggering reality of mental health.
Yeah, it really is everywhere.
It touches all of us. I mean, if you are listening to this right now, chances are you or someone you care about deeply has wrestled with mood or anxiety disorders at some point.
Absolutely. And we aren't just talking about having a bad day at the office or feeling a little stressed about a deadline.
Right. No. We are talking about conditions that drastically diminish your quality of life, your capacity for joy, and just the general baseline of happiness for the people experiencing them.
The daily impact is profound.
It really is. And some of the statistics we pulled from today's source material are just, well, they're a serious wake-up call. Like more than 90% of suicides in the West are attributed to mood disorders.
90%. That is a heavy number.
And if we look globally, a 2020 study out of China showed that during just a 2-month period, 54% of the subjects expressed moderate to severe psychological symptoms.
Over half the people in that study.
Yeah. And nearly 30% reported moderate to serious anxiety. So we are looking at a massive, society-wide heavy lift here.
We really are. And people are searching for relief, which is exactly why researchers have been looking so closely at effective, accessible, non-drug treatments.
Right.
Because finding an intervention that people actually want to wake up and do, and that legitimately moves the needle on mood and anxiety symptoms is one of the biggest challenges in public health today.
And exercise has naturally become a focal point for that.
Exactly. But as we will see, not all exercise environments are created equal.
Which brings us to the core of today's deep dive. We are looking at a 2022 systematic review and meta-analysis. It was published in the journal Frontiers in Psychiatry.
A very solid journal.
Yeah. The title is Effects of Aquatic Exercise on Mood and Anxiety Symptoms. So, okay, let's unpack this.
Let's do it.
Our mission today is to uncover exactly why working out in the water might just be the ultimate scientifically backed shortcut to better mental health.
Shortcut is a great word for it.
We want to figure out how you can optimize your own exercise routine for maximum psychological benefit. We're talking about shifting away from the, punishing, exhaustion-driven gym culture you might be used to.
Moving toward a healing aquatic environment.
Exactly. Because the data here suggests that water is an entirely different ballgame for your brain.
It really is. And to set a clear baseline for you, we already know that exercise is a proven mental health intervention.
Right. We've known that for a while.
For context, the 2016 Canadian Clinical Guidelines promote exercise as a first-level emotional therapy. So there is no debate over whether moving your body is good for your mind. That is established science.
Right, that's the foundation.
What this meta-analysis set out to discover is whether aquatic exercise specifically holds unique psychological benefits compared to land-based workouts.
And the answer is a resounding yes. Because aquatic exercise forces your body and your brain to operate under a completely different set of physical laws.
That's the key right there.
The physics of a water workout are fascinating when you stop taking them for granted. I mean, you're basically entering an alien environment right here on Earth.
You really are.
So let's talk about the unique properties of water, because that physical shift is the absolute foundation of why this psychological shift happens.
Yeah, let's break down the why into three main components. We have resistance, buoyancy, and touch.
Okay, let's start with resistance.
Right. So when you move your arm through the air on land, there is practically zero resistance. But water's muscular resistance is actually more than 10 times higher than air or land resistance.
10 times higher. That's huge.
It is. This means that every single movement you make in the pool requires far more activation from your brain's motor cortex.
So you're demanding more from your central nervous system just to execute the exact same movement you'd make effortlessly in your living room.
Exactly. And this increased brain activation is a massive factor, especially in elderly populations or those recovering from cognitive decline.
Because stimulating that brain-body connection is so crucial for them. It's like walking with invisible weights distributed perfectly across every single part of your body. You are getting a comprehensive physical and cognitive workout, but you might not even realize how hard your brain is working to coordinate it all because the environment is so supportive.
Which brings us to the second property.
Right, because at the very same time you have all this extra resistance challenging your muscles, you have the exact opposite happening with gravity.
Buoyancy and pressure. When you are submerged, the reduced gravity takes an immense amount of load off your spine and your pain-prone joints, like your knees, your ankles, your hips.
Which is a game changer for so many people.
Completely. For anyone dealing with chronic pain, old injuries, or arthritis, traditional land-based aerobic exercise can actually spike stress levels. It physically hurts.
And the brain registers that pain as a threat.
Exactly, which elevates cortisol. But the buoyancy of water completely removes that pain barrier, allowing the body to move freely without the punishing, repetitive impact of a treadmill or a hard gym floor.
And then there is the detail from this study that I thought was most surprising. The threat property.
The physical sensation of the water itself.
Yes. The study specifically calls out the feeling of water continuously flowing over your skin as you move. It actually simulates therapeutic touch.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture of human biology, therapeutic touch is a well-documented intervention for nervous system regulation.
Right. Studies consistently indicate that physical touch reduces stress hormones and improves overall mood.
So when you are moving in the water, you are getting a constant full-body sensory input that mimics being held or massaged.
Wow.
You are enveloped by an environment that is physically supporting your weight and providing soothing sensory feedback to your entire nervous system simultaneously.
So what does this mean for you, the person listening right now, trying to figure out how to manage your stress and plan your week?
It means that this specific sensory environment simply cannot be replicated on a spin bike or an elliptical machine.
No way. You cannot get 10 times the multidirectional resistance combined with zero joint impact while receiving a full-body soothing massage on land.
Exactly. And researchers realized that if these unique physical properties exist, they should translate into quantifiable, measurable improvements in mental health.
And the rigorous way they went about proving that is definitely worth exploring. They didn't just run one isolated experiment in a local pool.
No, they aggregated the best available science to see the overarching patterns.
So we know the physics are unique. But physics in a pool is one thing, and actual mental health relief is another. How did they prove this actually translates to feeling better?
Let's get into the methodology. They started with over 8,000 potential articles.
8,000.
Yeah, and they rigorously filtered them down to 18 original trials that met their strict criteria.
Which covered over 400 people who actually received an aquatic exercise intervention.
Right. And what stands out is the demographic spread. They looked at everyone from highly stressed college students to older adults dealing with Parkinson's disease, multiple sclerosis, and hypertension.
The diversity of the subjects is crucial for you to understand because it tells us that the benefits are not isolated to one specific age group, fitness level, or pre-existing condition.
Exactly. Now, they measured the outcomes using a statistical tool called Standardized Mean Difference, or SMD.
Which is important because different studies use entirely different scoring systems and questionnaires to measure mood or anxiety.
Right. SMD levels the playing field. It translates all those different scales into one universal metric. And in this case, we are looking for negative numbers.
Because a negative score means symptoms like anxiety and depression are actively dropping.
Yeah, exactly.
And across the board, people who received the aquatic exercise intervention had a clear, measurable reduction in mental disorder symptoms compared to before they started.
The overall standardized mean difference was negative 0.77.
Which is a highly significant improvement in the scientific community.
It really is.
But the moment in this deep dive where the numbers demand a double take is when we isolate specifically for anxiety.
What's fascinating here is the sheer magnitude of the effect on anxiety. It is arguably the most important finding in the entire paper.
Yeah.
When they isolated for those specific symptoms, the aquatic exercise effect size was a massive negative 1.28.
Just to understand how massive a score of negative 1.28 is, we have to look at what other popular interventions score on that exact same scale.
Right, let's compare.
Land-based aerobic exercise, like your standard jogging or cycling, scores a negative 0.50.
Meditation scores negative 0.15.
And traditional Chinese exercise comes in at negative 0.03. So water exercise at negative 1.28 is more than double the effectiveness of a land-based run for reducing anxiety.
It is mathematically superior to dedicated mindfulness practices.
That is just wild. It is a striking contrast, and it challenges a lot of the conventional wisdom about how to treat a racing mind.
We often think the antidote to anxiety is sitting still on a cushion, trying to force the brain into quietness through meditation.
Right. But for a highly anxious person, Sitting still with their own thoughts can sometimes be agonizing.
It can make it worse. But the aquatic environment requires enough cognitive focus to coordinate movement through resistance, which distracts the rumination.
While simultaneously bathing the nervous system in that soothing, buoyant sensory input.
Exactly.
But wait, if the water is making you so relaxed, how is it also triggering these intense biological changes like lowering hypertension?
That's a great question.
Because usually we associate heart health and tackling physical disease with pushing yourself to the absolute limit, sweating heavily and grinding through a tough workout.
This study provides some clear physiological answers that challenge that exact grind mentality.
Okay, let's hear them.
First, for conditions like depression, the research suggests that aquatic exercise significantly increases the secretion of beta endorphins and dopamine.
Those are your brain's natural mood elevators and painkillers.
Right, and the water environment seems to supercharge their release without the accompanying stress of high-impact exercise.
That makes sense.
But the data on hypertension and inflammation is where we really see the biological mechanics at work. Participating in an aquatic exercise program actively inhibits the production of pro-inflammatory cytokines.
Specifically ones known as TNF-alpha and IL-6. Let's make sure we clearly define what that means for the listener's body.
Sure. Think of cytokines like your body's chemical alarm system. When you are stressed, injured, or inflamed, alarms like TNF-alpha are blaring loudly,
And when those alarms are constantly going off, it causes systemic inflammation.
which is a known driver of physical cardiovascular issues and depressive symptoms.
So the water workout essentially walks in and unplugs the siren.
Exactly. By inhibiting those inflammatory markers, aquatic exercise is actively cooling down the body's stress response on a cellular level.
It's signaling to your immune system and your cardiovascular system that the environment is safe, which allows the blood vessels to relax and blood pressure to drop.
It's brilliant.
Okay, so we know it works, we know the cellular biology of why it works, and we know it fundamentally outshines the treadmill for anxiety.
You triple threat.
Right, but how do you actually apply this in your own life? Because splashing around in a pool can mean a lot of different things, and the study makes it clear that not all water workouts are created equal.
No, they aren't.
The data gives us what we can call the Goldilocks prescription for aquatic mental health. So let's look at the mode of exercise first.
They divided the data into two main categories: regular swimming versus aquatic aerobics.
And aquatic aerobics was the clear winner, with an effect size of -0.92, compared to swimming at -0.51.
This is a vital distinction for anyone planning to use this intervention. Swimming, which in these studies included activities like learning to swim, training for a competition, or doing continuous laps, can actually be quite stressful.
Oh, absolutely. If you are struggling with your breathing technique, or trying to constantly adjust your goggles, or sharing a crowded lane, or racing a clock, your nervous system is essentially in a mild state of threat.
You're continuously negotiating for oxygen.
Yes.
Aquatic aerobics, on the other hand, which includes things like water walking, water gymnastics, or group classes, is inherently different.
It is highly engaging, it is often social, and crucially, you are typically vertical. Your breathing is entirely uncompromised.
You get the physical benefits of the water without the psychological pressure of performance or the primal panic of holding your breath.
That is incredibly relatable. I mean, if you are already dealing with anxiety in your daily life, fighting for air while trying to perfect the butterfly stroke might not be the most relaxing approach.
It adds friction where there should be relief.
Right. And speaking of adding friction, the study also looked at winter swimming, or cold water plunging, which is incredibly trendy right now.
Very trendy. But biologically, winter swimming showed absolutely no statistical significance for improving mental health in this meta-analysis.
Not at all.
Zero. Your body does not know you are trying to participate in a trendy wellness routine. Your nervous system just thinks you are on the Titanic.
That's a great way to put it.
The cold water stimulus is extreme. It triggers a profound shock response. Instead of relaxing, your body is forced to remain incredibly tense to preserve core temperature and survive the exposure.
So while cold exposure might have other physiological benefits for muscle recovery or systemic resilience, for the specific goal of alleviating mood and anxiety symptoms, this intense physiological stress response completely counteracts the relaxing, soothing effects we see in warmer water aerobics.
It is simply too strong of a stimulus for the nervous system to achieve that desired downregulation.
So jumping into a freezing lake at 6 in the morning is not the scientifically backed cure for a racing mind.
We can confidently cross that off the list.
Okay, let's move on to workout intensity, because here is where the data gets really liberating for you. When we go to the gym on land, the culture always pushes us to go harder. No pain, no gain.
Sweat more. Hit that red heart rate zone.
Exactly. But this study measured heart rate intensity in the water, categorizing it into light, moderate, and high, and compared it directly to the mental health outcomes. The results completely flipped the script.
They really do. Light intensity had an incredible effect size of negative 1.07.
Moderate intensity was also highly significant at negative 0.75.
And high intensity. It was not statistically significant at all.
Not at all.
If we connect this back to the broader picture of mental health, it confirms a very reassuring principle. When it comes to healing your mind, relaxation beats exhaustion.
Relaxation beats exhaustion. I love that.
A lower intensity workout allows the body to move freely, to release those beta endorphins and dopamine, without tipping the scales into a heavy stress response.
Your body doesn't feel like it is running from a predator. It feels safe.
It is vital to remember that a highly stressed, anxious mind does not necessarily need the added physiological burden of a maximum heart rate workout. You are trying to heal, not conquer.
The overarching theme here is activation, not depletion.
Precisely. Activation, not depletion.
If you take nothing else away from this deep dive, write that down. You do not have to exhaust yourself to feel better.
You really don't.
Now, let's look at who benefits the most and the timeline for these programs. The researchers found that the 18 to 64 age bracket saw the most statistically significant improvements.
And when it came to the duration of the exercise programs, the short to medium durations were the absolute sweet spots.
Programs lasting under 4 weeks and those lasting 4 to 12 weeks showed huge improvements.
Those timeframes are very encouraging. It means you do not have to commit to a grueling 6-month boot camp to see a change in your mental well-being.
The aquatic environment can initiate a tangible reset in your mood relatively quickly.
Now, we should add a point of nuance regarding the age data. The study noted a lack of statistical significance for the over 64 age group in this specific data cut.
However, that should absolutely not deter older adults from getting in the pool.
Not at all. The researchers explicitly state that older individuals highly prefer water aerobics over hard, stressful land exercises because of the inherent safety, the social aspect, and the fun factor.
It seems like clinical trial designs can sometimes miss the obvious human element. If older folks love the classes and keep going back, there's clearly a benefit.
Precisely. The lack of a statistical hit in this one subgroup is likely an artifact of the specific, rigorous inclusion criteria of the trials rather than a lack of real-world benefit.
That makes total sense.
In fact, given the joint protection, the fall prevention, and the robust motor cortex brain activation we discussed earlier, water aerobics is functionally the most ideal environment for older populations to maintain both physical and cognitive health.
So the overall evidence is overwhelmingly in favor of utilizing the pool as a primary tool for mental wellness.
Without a doubt.
Let's distill the ultimate takeaway for your daily life. If you are feeling overwhelmed by the demands of your week, if your anxiety is spiking, or if you are feeling a heavy, lingering low mood, society usually tells you to go sweat it out.
To push through the pain on a high-intensity treadmill run.
Right. But based on the rigorous data from over 18 trials and 400 participants, skipping that exhausting land workout for a light, fun water aerobics class might actually be the most scientifically optimized choice you can make for your brain right now.
You get the muscular resistance to deeply engage your brain's motor cortex.
You get the reduced gravity to protect your joints from pain.
And the soothing, continuous touch of the water to unplug your body's chemical alarm systems.
It is a powerful synthesis of physics and biology working together to support mental health. It proves that you do not have to punish your body to cure your mind.
You don't. But there is one final, lingering idea tucked into the source material that I think is deeply profound, and it is something I want to leave you pondering today.
Sure.
The study mentions that aquatic exercise, especially when it is done in special natural environments like the sea, forces us into what the researchers call confronting challenges.
Confronting challenges. That sounds a bit philosophical for a clinical meta-analysis.
Yeah.
What do they mean by confronting challenges in the water?
Well, when you step off the land and enter the water, you are fundamentally altering your sense of gravity, your sense of personal space, and your basic body orientation.
You're no longer grounded in the way you have been all day.
Exactly. The paper suggests that this fundamental alteration forces a massive perspective shift. It breaks the typical physical, repetitive patterns of our daily lives.
Wow.
So, the question I would ask you to consider as you go about your week is this: could the sheer unfamiliarity of being suspended in a completely different element be the very thing that hits the reset button on your mind?
That is a great question.
How often do you consciously put your physical body in a completely foreign environment just to see how your brain reacts to the novel stimulus? Sometimes, to change how we feel on the inside, we quite literally have to change how we move through the world on the outside.
If you want to change your mind, change your gravity. That is an incredible thought to end on and a perfect challenge for anyone feeling stuck in a rut.
Go find some water.
Exactly. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Keep questioning the standard advice, keep looking for those scientifically backed shortcuts to a better life, and most importantly, keep seeking out new perspectives. We will catch you on the next one.